What is this video about, you may ask? Well,
here we have two schools with two completely different structures of education. This video is going to guide you through the basics of these two schools and compare them along the way. There are a couple of different areas which are important to consider when investigating a model of schooling. Today we will be looking at just two of them.
These two areas are how the schools view the students and what they view as being important in education. We will also have a short look at who the models of education aim towards. So, let's get started, shall we? How do these two schools view the students? How do they view the child? We'll take a look at the Steiner model first. Rudolf Steiner was the founder of this model of education. He held a very specific anthropological view of humanity. He believes that a person is a body, soul, and spirit, and that they are all intertwined. Also, he believed that they have self-routing forces within themselves that will naturally lead towards growth and learning. His views were based on what he called anthroposophy, which, simply put, means the knowledge of man. He describes it as a philosophy of freedom. Steiner believed everything in the universe can be found represented in the human being. Within anthroposophy, you know that you have acted ethically if the results of your actions are balanced. Steiner's cosmological and ontological views are that there is a force behind everything that exists in the universe and that all things are affected and linked together by it. It also links in with his theology because he believed that this force was spiritual in nature. Accelerated Christian education, on the other hand, has a very different view of the student. It was founded by Donald and Esther Howard and is implemented both in schools and through distance education. This model of education was founded with a biblically based view of humanity. As such, it also holds the view that a person is made up of a body, soul, and spirit, but that's pretty much where the similarity ends. Whereas Steiner held that humanity is, for all intensive purposes, good at its core, this is not the case with ACE. Their biblical backing influences their anthropological views. They acknowledge the biblical view of the sinful nature of humanity, which gives ACE a much bigger focus on instilling morals and biblical character. Within this, ACE also recognizes the individuality of the student and their need to develop at their own pace. Now, moving on to the second question. What do these schools see as being important in the educational process? In other words, what do they teach? In a Steiner school, there is a large emphasis on learning according to your development and teaching things at the right time. Steiner schools also place a high value on aesthetics, and as such, they have a high curricular emphasis on the arts. Steiner schools also hold an epistemological view that people learn through narratives and experiences, and this is evidenced through their curriculum. The arts are integrated through all the subjects, and students are encouraged to express themselves through them. Through the adolescent years, students at Steiner schools are encouraged to question ideas. This comes into play with the key themes that are highlighted within each year level, such as judgment or analysis. Every morning at Steiner schools, students start out with a daily 2-hour main lesson. These lessons are on a topic which is unpacked over a number of weeks and is focused around the core cultural subjects. The rest of the day is spent in shorter lessons over a wider range of subjects. Okay, now back to ACE, whose curriculum follows a different pattern to the Steiner model. ACE emphasizes the traditional academic subjects of English, math, and history, and throughout them it incorporates Christian morals and explores the history of the church. Its emphasis lies in the mastery of subjects, requiring students to achieve at a certain level before they are able to move on. The workbook format of ACE allows students to work at their own pace through the daily setting of goals. ACE schooling believes that students learn when they set work at an appropriate level, they have reasonable goals, they are motivated and can measure their work. They also believe that all learning should be rewarded. These two schools are aimed at families of very different socio-economic backgrounds. Prices for Steiner schools and ACE distance education schools are radically different. And as such, the families that they attract will also have different backgrounds and educational focus. Steiner schools are aimed towards families seeking an alternative to the traditional model of schooling, a model which is in touch with nature and embraces diversity. ACE, however, is aimed towards Christian families who want to educate their children in a Christian environment and have a greater impact upon the education of their children. This look into who the schools are aimed at concludes our brief overview of these two models of education. At a glance, it's easy to think that these schools have similar philosophical and cultural backings, but under closer investigation it becomes apparent that although they do have some similarities, such as viewing the student as an individual with a body, soul, and spirit, they generally differ in their approach to this understanding and how it impacts how they approach education.